Hello, my strong friends. In today's video, we are talking about the glutes and how to better maximize your glute training sessions. A couple of things that we are going to cover in this video are one, how to modify a few movements that you might already be doing to turn them from a general leg exercise to a glute focused exercise. So there's a few adjustments that you can make to get a better glute burn. We'll also go over some common mistakes that I see lifters make and some that honestly I make. Stay tuned to learn those because you might be making a mistake that you don't know and it's costing you some glute gains that you need. If you're new here, hello, my name is Meg Squats and I'm a certified personal trainer and I'm also a power lifter. So I do a lot of squats, and when I actually got started in the fitness industry, it was all about squats, and the answer to get a big butt was to do squats. I, of course, love to squat personally, but research shows that there are actually better or more efficient movements than the squat to consider working into your training routine. Of course, if you like this topic, please do give the video a like so that I know to make more of this. And if you're new here, then subscribe to my channel. I make videos every single Friday. I'm not sure if you were wondering this because I feel like everyone knows why they want to train glutes. Your gluteus maximus is the biggest muscle in your body. To grow that muscle is going to assist in your powerlifting movements. So if you're someone that's really focused on strength, getting a bigger butt or getting a stronger glute area will definitely help in your powerlifting lifts. And of course, we want our training to be balanced so that we have a long career of lifting. Most of us, unfortunately, suffer from something called glute amnesia. That's that feeling when you're sitting around all day and you're not activating your glutes maybe ever for years and years on end. A lot of us do lose that activation or understanding of the contraction of the glutes. So I think Dr. Stuart McGill was the one to kind of call it glute amnesia, but that's definitely something that I have struggled with. If you feel like you've struggled with it too, please let me know down in the comments below. There is one last reason for why you'd want to train glutes, and that is completely superficial. Obviously, the way that the ideal body has changed, the glutes have been emphasized, period. So these are movements to include into your warm-up before you actually start working out. Now, important note, these aren't just warm-up exercises. These are things that you can use in your pre-activation and also for your main lifts as well. You'll just want to modify the reps or the time under tension when you're doing this as not a pre-activation exercise. Banded lateral walk. You do want to make sure that you're keeping tension throughout this movement as you're taking some short lateral steps. So get into an athletic position and have your hip hinged a little bit and a slight knee bend. You don't want to just stand straight up. The next exercise is a banded squat. This is a great activation exercise for those of us who have problems with the knee valgus in the squat. So focus on pushing your knees out into the band each rep here. This one's called a fire hydrant because the movement kind of looks like a dog pissing on a fire hydrant. Do you get it? You want to keep your shoulders and hips square to the floor and abduct the knee with complete control. And a similar exercise to this is the clamshell. Instead of in that quadruped position, you'll be lying on one side. Again, not a huge range of motion. Avoid opening up your hip at the top of the rep. Our last activation exercise is the monster walk. I almost prefer this a little bit more than the lateral walk. Your stance is slightly wider, you're still in that athletic position, and you do want to take steps forward and you're controlling them, slightly bringing the knee in, but making sure that you're maintaining tension with the band through the entire range of motion. So with these, be sure to focus on some sort of mind-muscle connection. For all of these exercises, you want to feel it in your glutes, right? So it does require some effort to focus on that, but a lot of these, especially if you have a hard time feeling the contraction, you may want to prepare to really focus and spend a good amount of mental energy dedicated to those movements. It wouldn't be a glute video if I didn't talk about the hip thrust. I did mention him before, but Brett Contreras has done some scientific work and studies on the subject matter. And of course, he's constantly training clients and visitors at the Glute Lab in San Diego. So he has really helped people get a better grasp on the movement. I personally have always found them annoying, complicated, and I've never really clicked with the movement until recently. So I'm gonna give you a few tips that I've found in my research. Again, a lot of these are taken from Brett, so I'll link some more resources down below. So the first tip is to use your elbows to get in the start position. For some reason, I used to just like lean back and try to shimmy up, which was not efficient and stupid, okay? The second tip is to walk your shoulders up the bench, and it's actually gonna be a bit higher than what you actually think. You want to use the contact with your bench or surface not as a place to pivot, but instead to move from that like anchor and down. So you're not moving your upper body, you're keeping that on the bench. The third tip is that your shins should be vertical at the top. So scoot your feet in after you extend. Definitely helps to have a mirror or a training partner or a video to make sure that you're in the proper position. Next tip is to look forward. Try to like lock your chin comfortably, find a comfortable place for your chin and keep it looking at the same place. And don't arch your chest or back. So you shouldn't have any spinal flexion or extension here, but you do want to have a little bit of a pelvic tilt so that you can drive with your glutes. Definitely not a intuitive position to be in, and it does take some time to feel comfortable and like get into that position. We're gonna do a band abducted glute bridge. Similar notes, but here you want to take a more narrow stance and push your elbows into the ground. Again, tuck that chin in a comfortable position. And for this, since your range of motion is a little shorter, take a 3-second pause at the top. And this will especially be good because you're not loading the movement. It's just a body weight movement here. You may have seen or done this back extension exercise as a goal for erector strength, or been doing this and just feel it in your erectors. But with a few position adjustments, this can be a great glute exercise. This is one of my favorites because I just like to lay on the machine in between reps. So the combinations that you want to make are to set the pad up just below your pelvic bone. And then when you extend to the start position, think about rounding your back and fully hunch over in an ugly position. Squeeze your glutes at the start of the movement and then raise your body so that you're in full extension. Your body is completely laid out in the machine. You might want to limit your range of motion, realizing that you don't really need to go too high with your back to have a great glute contraction. Powerlifters, if you're watching this, you've probably used this as some sort of assistance or accessory in the squat. But with a slight modification, you can turn this into a more glute-focused lift. So what you're gonna do is just initiate forward, initiate a forward lean, and instead of dropping straight down into the squat, you want to descend at a diagonal. So you're dropping in line with your lean forward torso. You'll find that putting your torso forward creates a greater hip extension and it loads the weight back in your glutes more, or your one glute more. A few tips for lunges: you might want to think about a forward walking lunge variation and then taking longer strides in that variation. Think about driving with your front heel. Of course, control your reps. Speed is not going to be great because, again, we want to get that mind-muscle connection that does take some focus. Box step-ups are a really functional movement. It helps your glute strength, but also this one especially will help coordination and balance. The most important thing with your setup is to find a box that is a good height for you. So when you put your foot on the box before you actually start the step up, try to get a right angle with your hip, and you do want to avoid the box being too high. Otherwise, you'll find yourself sort of cheating the movement and pushing off with your other foot off the ground instead of using the foot on the box to get you up there. So it's not worth it to go higher than you need to. Make sure that you're using a lower box than you think you need. So one thing we're working on in our next block of training for Stronger by the Day is trying a slow descent with the box step-ups. We're starting next with a 3-second negative that will increase over time. I'll talk a little bit about progressive overload at the end of the video, but this is great to just strengthen the whole range of motion. Of course, my biggest note with any sort of under tension movement or slow descent movement is make sure that you're strengthening the entire range of motion, not just your favorite part, not just the easiest part, which is very easy to do. So for this, you might want to try and use your back toe on your back leg to guide you through the hardest part, which is like as the lower you get to the ground, the harder that descent will be. So make sure also that your knee is caving in this movement. There are a couple different ways to do a goblet squat, and sometimes we'll program different variations depending on what we're focused on for that week or that block of training. For instance, you could try a very narrow heel elevated goblet squat to focus on quad strength. So our suggestions for making some adjustments to try and target in on your glutes with a goblet squat are to start with a somewhat narrow, maybe hip width foot position, and then focus mostly on driving your knees way out, and so that you can keep your elbows in between your knees. The biggest note with getting real results is incorporating progressive overload. If you've been to my channel before, you probably heard me talk about it, but basically that just means you've got to do it often and consistently with more reps, sets, or time under tension, any one of those, or however you want to progress. All right, guys, that is all for my glute video. I hope that this was helpful, giving you some ideas on how to modify lifts that you're already doing, or some ideas on things to add into your program. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, if you are new here, please do subscribe to the channel. And if you guys enjoyed this video, then do give the video a thumbs up so that I know. Comment down below if there's a glute variation that you especially like. Maybe I'll make an update to this video. This is not a comprehensive list. I can't include every glute exercise in a hopefully under 15-minute video. Edited it yet, but let me know if there's something I missed and something I should include in the next one. All right, I'll see you guys Friday. Bye.